Hey, welcome to 5 Star Guns and Gear, and we are going to go ahead and show you how to properly mount a scope, at least my way of mounting a scope. This may not be your way of mounting a scope. To show you, I've got years of experience in gunsmithing, mounted lots of scopes, and this is a good surefire way that you can accurately mount a scope without a problem. There's several ways to do it. You can actually go out and get a plumb bob, hang it out about 50 yards, get your scope level, adjust your reticle. That way everything's level and lined up with that plumb. Um, and that's one way to do it. But on the bench, there's one surefire way of doing it where 99% of the time you're going to be so close that you're not going to have to mess with your scope. So we're going to take this Brigard B15 Wilderness 300 PRC. Went ahead and we have a 20 MOA mount on it right now, Picatinny, and we're going to use some Leopold rings on it. We're going to be putting on this primary arms 6 to 30 by 56 first focal plane scope on here. Going to be a perfect scope for a long range shooter like this. So the first thing I like to do is go ahead and put it into usually a gun bias, but a lot of people don't have a gun bias, but some people have shooting rest or some form of rest. And if you do and you have some Velcro, I'm going to show you an easy way to do this. So go ahead and set up everything. I tightened up this Velcro on here just to kind of hold this gun in place. And the first thing I'm going to do, just take you a good small level. You can take one like this and just make sure wherever you set it is going to be flat. Set it right there. You can take this, you can set it right on here, just make sure it's flat, and just adjust your gun. Hopefully guys, you know how to use a level, and once your bubble's right in the center, I'm not going to show y'all how to do that, you're good to go. And this one, adjust just a tiny bit more. Once I'm happy with it, we're going to move on to the next step. Now guys, you can spend money and get a whole scope leveling system, and I've had them. I've used them in my gunsmithing business when I was in Texas. They're great. They work great. I don't have mine any longer. This works just as good. There's a few more steps you do. Usually what you'll do with those, you'll level with a regular level, then you'll put a clamp on here that has a level on it, and when you have it leveled with this, you clamp it down. You can take this off, and then you can use the small one on the top of your scope or whatever to go ahead and finish leveling it off. But I'll show you how we're going to do this, and we'll check it a couple times to make sure we stay level. Sometimes I'll use 2 levels like this and look and make sure there's no discrepancies. Both of these are showing level. You don't need to have 2. This one is just fine, and this is absolutely dead on right there. So next thing we need to do is go ahead and figure out where we want our rings, and I'm going to go ahead and get these mounted. So these are Leopold Mark IV that we're going to be using on this. Go ahead and set that one there. And we may move these and adjust these guys. A lot of that's going to be based on your eye relief. And since I'm going to be the one shooting this gun, I'm going to check and see how everything looks to me. And if everything looks good, we will mount it and go from there. Now I like these to be about, I would say about 5 inches or so apart. That's not that critical. I mean, they can be a different width than that. Let me see if I got usually have a metal tape measure on this desk. Here it is right here. And this is just me. It's not going to be perfect. And then I'll set the scope up there and I'll see how the scope looks. And I don't like how that's looking, so I'm going to move this in. So like I say, at 5 inches is very subjective. You can do whatever you want. There's no rule to that you have to stick by. That actually looks really good like that. We're gonna go with that. Let's see. Now outside the outside we're right at 5 inches there, but center to center we're not. So we took about 1 inch off of that. That is fine. So what I want to do now is I kind of want to get everything set up, ready to go ahead and mount the scope down. And I go ahead and open the lens covers on this. Turn this power down on this. Just the parallax all the way down. Sure that's where I want it. Good thing about having a skinny level, I can actually stick this in here usually and retest this. But what I'll do is I'll just pull the scope off one more time. Make sure we're still level here once we mess with everything. When you bump things, you'll wind up readjusting things. So this is where we're going to put our rings. Almost certain. If we have to move them forward, we will. But I want to take a look in the scope, check my eye relief, and see if that's going to work. If I need to shift this forwards or backwards, I can. It's not going to be critical. I'm going to try to keep this sort of even, but that's not that important. What is important is my eye relief. And when I get down on this, I adjust my head just a little to see what it's doing. And when I naturally lay my head on this stock, I'm going to see what everything's doing with the eye relief. And I'm coming up on it about where I'd be naturally. That looks pretty good there. I'm fine with that. Since I'm happy with the position of this, what I want to go ahead and do now is I'm going to take the scope off. I'm going to recheck the eye relief in just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and tighten this base down. The reason why I want to do that, once I tighten that base down, I'm going to check my level again and make sure it's still level before I start messing with the ring caps here. That way, in case something shifts, I will have everything lined up and level again. So we're going to do here, these particular rings right here call for 60, let me look, I believe it's 65 inch-pounds for these particular rings. We want to get it right. Should have it wrote down somewhere, and yeah, I do. It is 65 inch-pounds. So you'll check the manufacturer, because it can be different depending on, it will be different depending on the manufacturer. Also, it depends on the type of the mounting system it uses. That's all going to be a factor in that. Now, something I do like to do, I like to push a ring forward. That way it's buttoned up against here. And do the same with this one. Push it forward. And that will help mitigate during recoil any kind of shifting on that. So since that's 65 inch-pounds, this particular one does take a 1/2 inch. I'm going to set this torque wrench at 65 inch-pounds. All right, we're at 65. Lock that in place. It's at 65. All right. That's all we have to do for those. Right now what I'll do, because I guarantee you this has shifted some, put a cushion right under there. Give me just a second, guys. Stick this piece of leather into there to take up some of that space. And we're going to re-level this right here, because it almost certainly shifted on us. Okay, we're back level. And we want to go ahead and put our scope back on. I will check the eye relief one more time. Looks good. And then I will use, you can use the same level. Just put it on that top turret. And that is level right there, guys. At this point, I'll go ahead and put the caps on and start to hand tighten them. And I'm going to use some thread locker on here. Use blue thread locker. I'll put it this way, use medium strength, because I have seen thread lockers come in different colors. That are not necessarily the right strength. So use a medium strength. You'll need a whole lot on here. And this is optional. I tend to use it Not everybody does. We're shooting 300 PRC in this. Very high recoil round. I would definitely recommend using it. All right. Put that on there. Try not to bump anything and get anything off kilter. We want everything to stay level. Now everyone, these screws have their own torque specs. These are going to be at 28 inch-pounds. So what I'm trying to do here is start these and maintain your distance on each side of this gap to be equal. Pretty easy to do. We're still dead level, so we're good. I take my time doing this, guys, because we want to maintain level as much as possible. Let's go to the front one. We'll do the same thing. You don't have to drench these threads, everyone. Just put your little dab on it. That's all you need. If you're picky like I am, the directions of your rings, make sure you put them on proper, because you get them all torqued down and locked and you see like the Leopold's not facing the way that you want it to go. You have to take it off and redo it. Some people that don't bother them. Me, on the other hand, it does bother me. Again, guys, if these are rings that you'd have to lap, you'd want to lap these. High quality rings like this, I'm telling you, you do not have to lap them. Do it if you want to. It's not necessary. The precision machining that goes into these nowadays, it's just not required. Again, if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. If you agree, let me know in the comments. Okay, guys. Now when we start torquing on this and everything, even if this shifts, as long as this is in place, you know, if the gun shifts this way, this is going to be set. You're going to be fine at this point. Now we need to reset our torque wrench to 28 inch-pounds. This is my trusty old wore out. It's not wore out, but it's been well used. Served me well. And we're doing inch-pounds. We're not doing foot-pounds, guys. If you do foot-pounds, you're going to strip something out. So pay attention. If you don't have an inch-pound torque wrench, make sure you get one. Okay, we're at 20 foot-pounds. We're going to go to 8. I always like to just double check. Make sure we're at the proper spot. Okay, 28. You want to maintain your gap. And I'll work in a cross pattern. I'll start here, go over here, and I'll work that pattern. And then I'll go to the next ring. Now if you got, I've got a Wheeler Engineering handheld. You can use one of those. I honestly think this is a little bit more precise than using those. But if that's what you got, use it. I use both of them. When I'm doing something this critical, I usually get out a little bit better, what I feel is a little bit better torque wrench. Okay. Those are getting a little bit snug there, so I'm gonna go ahead and go these back ones, and then we'll finish our torques. Gap still looks good. I did not like how the gap was looking on that, so I'll redo that. Loosen this side up a little and tighten in this side a little. That's what you have to do. You just kind of have to eyeball it and work at it. Save myself a little time here. And be patient, guys. You want everything to stay level. You don't want things to shift around on you. When we get done here, I'm going to recheck everything. Matter of fact, before we go any further, I'm just going to give it a visual and see how that kind of looks to the eye.
Oh yeah.
It's not, it doesn't look like it's canted any. It looks absolutely perfect. I'm going to go ahead and take that off at this point. It's really not needed. Guys, there's nothing wrong with going ahead and getting your level system and mounting it to your barrel and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely no problem with that. I've used them for years. I've done it this way for years. Most your older gunsmiths, you won't see them use that. Just because years ago it wasn't available. So they use a plumb bob method or use this method right here. And it usually works pretty darn good. Okay. Go back up to here and we're going to go ahead and start getting these torqued down to 28 inch-pound. We're getting close. That one's there. That one's there. Then guys, I will go back to every one of these and make sure, because as you tighten, it could change the pressure on one away from it, just like those. When they're all at 28 properly, I'm going to stop. Getting real close. These screws right now aren't turning. All I'm doing is making sure that it's actually snapping at 28. And then that front one's absolutely perfect. Try to use a cross pattern on all these. And see how that gun shifted? It's fine because this is locked down. It's not going anywhere now. Absolutely perfect, dead on at 28 inch-pounds. Again, these aren't turning. I'm just double checking everything. Everything's fine. 65 inch-pounds right here. 28 inch-pounds here. Flip this up. And that's absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. That is my method for mounting a scope and getting it level. That is about as level as you're going to get it. You can go ahead and buy you a whole mounting device, do it that way. Best way to do is put this actually in a gun vise. That way you can lock that butt down really good. Stop any play side to side up here. That is the absolute best way to do it. Once you have it level and locked down properly, it's a little more forgiving. But if you don't, this is a good way you can do it. You can do this off of sandbags if you wanted to. It's going to be a little more difficult. It's going to shift around on you. Just take your time at it. You will get everything absolutely level, at least close enough that you're not going to be able to tell by eye. And if you do, you can always go out, set you out a plumb bob 50 yards out, get your gun level, set it to it, readjust it if you have to. You're probably not going to have to do it. I think you're going to find that it's going to be pretty much dead on. Guys, if you're subscribed, thank you very much. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell notification. That way we can let you know when we're putting out new content. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next episode.